BunnyCast number 7, recorded on April 4th, 2008.
Warning, may cause bouts of eyeball explosion. People have been known to be strangled by their own renticular cords.
That was weak.
Seems so real to me. The sky turns so cold and black. I'm scared of what I see, but I'm not afraid anymore. You vanquished my fears. You gave me the reason to laugh, and stole all my tears. And now I comply to.
Okay, welcome to BunnyCast number 7. We're going to be doing a ComicCon recap, basically extending on what we discussed in, what was it, BunnyCast number 3, I believe it was.
Indeed.
Okay, I am Dame Helennet, the LeatherClad, otherwise known as Homernet, otherwise known as Chris, otherwise known as the person who won't shut up. And next up, Killerfish, take it away.
I'm Killerfish, otherwise known as Lord Sir Killerfish. Sorry, the Honourable Right Reverend Lord Sir Killerfish of the Keenfans, otherwise known as Darfid, otherwise known as D, otherwise known as Samuel L. Jackson. And next up we will have Jim.
Hello. I'm Jim. I don't have an otherwise known as. Do you think I should make some up for the purposes of the podcast?
Yeah.
No, too late. You get no titles.
Okay, I'll pass on. Who else have we got? Robin.
Hi, I'm Robin Ericson, also known as Sir Robin.
Yes, Sir Robin, honorary member of the Order of the Bunny, and most of you will know him as one of the the co-author, co-artist. What would your title be?
I'm the co-creator / colorist.
Co-creator / colorist of The Wotch. Of course, every bunny knows The Wotch, and if you don't know The Wotch, you're not a bunny.
Oh, well, that settles it. I'm not a bunny then.
You can't participate in the
It's a
BunnyCast
state of
anymore.
mind. It's a state of mind, not a state of being.
Regular listeners will note the absence of Squatto. We're not sure where he is, but we are moving forward with boldness and vision. We have invited Robin here for this Comic-Con podcast because he is a Comic-Con goer, and he obviously knows how things work very well. Now, Jim is here because he is a relatively new bunny. He has completely read through the EGS comic archives and participated on the forums a little bit.
Very, very tiny bit. I should point out, I've only read the actual main storyline. I've not read any of the fillers or the news ones yet. Because it was sort of bunny overload.
That's
So much funny.
that's all right in my opinion. Killerfish, can we let him slide on this?
Yeah, I can understand the term bunny overload, you know. It's when your brain gets just too fuzzy and you can't think anymore.
Actually, Robin, this is a good time to ask you, as our sort of honorary guest, what's your experience with Elgunashive?
Oh, well, I started reading Elgunashive, let me see, The Watch started in 02, and I started reading Elgunashive probably earlier that year, probably about June or July 2002. So right back about where it started.
Did it start then? Wow, I must have gotten on board really early then. I honestly cannot remember exactly when I started reading EGS. Okay, let's actually, before we get into the Comic-Con stuff, I'd like to talk a little bit about what Jim does for us as well. Jim is one of the good folks that runs the Shastrix website that we host.
Woo!
What?
Woo!
Ah, what?
Tricks! Woo!
Oh, woo, okay.
I thought he was booing.
I thought he was.
Remove his comment.
You wouldn't dare.
Actually, Killerfish, why don't you talk a little bit about what Jim does for you, and then we'll get some feedback from Jim on this.
What Jim does is he provides very kindly a free space for me to host up whatever comics that I come up with. He does this without asking for any money whatsoever, and also advert free, which is good. And he's constantly telling me to get more people to come along and join up and get their webcomics onto Shastrix as well. I think he's got plans. Evil plans.
No,
Don't we all?
not really. I have no evil plans. I just have,
You just
Half-formed malicious ideas, I think.
I have a fetish for seeing high hit counts on the website.
Oh, that gets into the disturbing part. Okay. Jim, why don't you talk a little bit about what exactly you do with Shastrix?
Well, the main focus of the site is obviously the webcomics that we've got there, and the idea originally was just to provide a place for Killerfish to draw. Originally, it wasn't even comics, and we've just opened it up now. Anyone can come along and we'll stick their comics on. It's got all the features that hopefully anyone would expect, but if there is anything anyone wants, I can always try and write something else.
Yeah, this is the thing about Jim. He doesn't go and copy other people's code. He actually sits down and figures it out himself.
No, well, that's the fun part to me.
That is actually quite impressive. I mean,
when I did the forums, going along and just using the boring PHP bulletin board code seemed a bit of a cop-out. It didn't seem any fun. I wouldn't get anything from it, really, because the forums don't get a lot of use on Shastrix.
That's forums.shastrix.com.
Thank you.
Well, one thing I was really impressed with, and I do have to say this, is when you offered to host the BunnyCast, and I took a look at what you had put together. I mean, it was very clearly something you had really put together quickly, just so that we could have some space. But I was very impressed that right off the bat you had the link for iTunes, opening up the podcast on iTunes. You had an RSS feed. I mean, it was just everything was set to go there, and I mean, it looks like you do a little bit of name conversion on the back end. So I was really impressed with just exactly how much you had done in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, but generally it is very similar to the code that's used for the comics, although the files are audio files and you have to upload them slightly differently because of their size.
Right.
But yeah, so it's very similar in terms of code, so it wasn't that tricky to put together. The RSS feeds I just re-added fairly recently onto the comics. They used to be there but disappeared when I rewrote the entire thing a little while ago. And so it was all still fairly fresh in my mind. And I was just researching when Killerfish said you were going to do the podcast. I was looking into how it ties in with iTunes and other pieces of software.
Well, as I say, it was very, very impressive. I am very pleased with the results so far, and I look forward to seeing all the other cool stuff that you're going to be doing.
Yeah, the one thing I do want to do at some point when I get around to it with the podcast thing is fix the little image that's with each one, so that it matches up the image that you've put onto the actual podcast file that displays in iTunes. Although it doesn't in my iTunes for some reason. But so I have to go and use Ash's computer to get the image to put on there at the moment.
Interesting.
But also, he's the star of a webcomic, which doesn't get a lot of people coming to it. So I draw.
And that's only because you never do any. When it was updated 3 times a week, there were lots and lots of people coming and reading it.
Yeah, I
But,
know.
but now, the other comics on Shastrix, like The Fan, are more popular because they're updated very, very regularly.
I'd like to move on to Robin. I want to ask you a question, Robin, and if this is not a good place for this question, we can go ahead and edit this out later. But early on in the Watch, there's a reference to what's his name? The newspaper guy.
Ivan.
Right. His quote cousin in Moperville, I think it was.
Uh huh.
And very clearly a reference to Alguna Shive. Now, I haven't. I admit I have not done a whole lot of research on this, but I get the feeling that there was some sort of conflict going on, at least in the fan community, about exactly where the relationship lies. And having talked to Dan about the possibility of doing our own related work, I know that he's not too keen on like spin-offs or tie-ins or anything like that. First off, was that something you guys just threw in? What is the relationship going on there? Again, this is only if you feel comfortable talking about this here.
Oh, yeah, this is fine.
Okay.
That was just a little nod to Alguna Shive for just because we like the comic, and it helped inspire Anne to start up the Watch. So it was a little nod. And since then, there was a fan conflict apparently over it, and I don't know, there was a big, long dealy, some drama about it, but I don't know how that began or ended, but it's over now because both Anne and I talk to Dan all the time, so it's really no big deal.
Okay, good. And as long as the creators are okay with it, I don't care about the rest. Actually, obviously we know that you're part of the comic. It's very obvious, and Anne, obviously. Is there a Jason in real life?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
He'll actually be at ComicCon this year, believe it or not.
Oh, that's cool. I look forward to that. Which brings me to my next question. Will we ever see Anne at Comic-Con?
Probably not.
One gets from her pseudonym that she's not exactly open to revealing herself in public.
Yeah. No, she's pretty private. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, we won't see her. And if she's around, you won't know it's her.
Okay. Alrighty. I think that pretty much covers it for just introductions, getting people familiar with who is who. So let's move on to news. Forum news. Killerfish, I don't really have much, do you?
There were some posts about possibly having a 3D forum for bunnies, but it turns out that not a lot of people are into that idea because we have some Mac users and Linux users. Please forgive my mispronunciations. It's my voice. It's terrible, I know.
Mispronunciations.
He does this every time. Seriously. Okay, mispronunciation. But yeah, because we have so many conflicting OSs.
What
basically,
exactly
it's not
do
a
you mean
viable
by
idea.
3D forums?
Basically, the impression I got was that some people want to set up a basically having, like within a game or within a 3D instant messenger system.
Gee, it would be awful nice if somebody could make something like that. You know, that something that was good and cross-platform and had servers that could handle the load and had a good 3D interface. And wow, what if it was called Second Life? That would be really cool.
Yeah.
I have a Second Life account. I've had one forever, and because I got it early on, I have it. It's a permanent account. I never have to pay for it.
Yeah, I have the same thing.
I set one up, and then after I set up the account, it told me my graphics card's like the only one that's not supported.
I feel out of date because I've only just signed up for Facebook.
That's okay.
You got off easily there.
Actually, we probably should do something on Second Life to get people together as forum goers. I know that I did make an attempt at bringing the Order of the Bunny on the Second Life, but didn't really go very far. Excuse me. Okay, comic news. Elguna Shive is doing filler comics until, what was it, the 7th or was it the 21st? I can't remember.
I thought it was just a week's worth.
Yeah.
Right. But basically Dan has said that he will start doing regular updates to the story comic because, as he mentioned in a news post, he has noticed that it has been forever since he did an actual story comic. So bunnies have that to look forward to.
February.
Yeah. Okay, Robin, is there any news about the watch that you wanted to give us?
Let's see. Right now we are working to get back up to 3 updates a week, but currently we're at 1.5 or so. So hopefully that'll start kicking in soon enough. The news story. Yeah, we had a kind of a failed April Fool's joke that people didn't. That people like. They like the fool part better than the actual what's going on, and there was a little blowback from that.
I don't recall.
Blowback.
Yeah, it was a joke. We had Robin kiss Cassie, and then people wanted that to be real, but it's not.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's go on to miscellaneous news. Anybody got any news that they'd like to bring up?
I think we mentioned I was doing fillers for the watch.
No, miscellaneous news.
Oh, miscellaneous. Miscellaneous. Well, I haven't been reading Zebragirl 2 recently, so because it's set in the town of Miscellaneous.
Right. I completely forgot about you. Very good. Very good.
Aha.
You get the golf clap. Golf clap. There you go. Here's a small news item. Apple's been kind of tooting their own horn on this. The Apple iTunes Store is the #1 music retailer in America. Waves the flag. Yeah, whoopee. Who's ringing?
Someone's twinkling.
Oh, I don't know.
Not me.
Weird.
My ringtone is the 18.
Okay, let's.
Mine's Magical Trevor.
Yeah.
No. Let's talk about the purpose of our podcast today, ComicCon. A lot of the last ComicCon podcast was spent talking about preparations and getting here and all that kind of good stuff. And I do want to add that it looks like we may have a bunny suite this year. This is going to be news to even Killerfish. I haven't really told anybody except a couple of other bunnies that are thinking of coming in but not staying with me. Basically, what is going on is one of the coworkers where I work is the son of part owners in the Hard Rock Hotel downtown. And he is going to secure for us during the Comic-Con a room at the Hard Rock Hotel for the bunnies that are going to be staying here, but not at my place. And I'm hoping to convince the bunnies that will be doing so that's going to be our bunny suite, mostly because my wife is going to need someplace to rest with the baby during that time.
Wow. Took me by surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I just knew he could swing some places at the Hard Rock Hotel, so I said, hey, can we work this? And he's looking at trying to get me a really, really good deal on the price as well as locking down that reservation. So, I mean, that's really awesome for everybody involved, I think. So that's that little bit of news. I'll be releasing more information as I get it. In terms of other stuff, we have a few bunnies coming in from Europe. Killerfish, you're coming in, and so is Jake. Jake R for the forum goers.
Who is flying in?
Yes. Let's see, of course.
Well, he could be swimming in, you know.
I was just wondering how else you were planning to get that. So you could get a boat, but you probably have to leave now.
Yeah, especially if you were rowing. Let's see, from Australia, we've got Squatto and Troy coming in, for sure. Canada has AP coming in. Anti-Paragon, by the way. Let's see, who else? Also, shortly after or before, details are a little hazy at this point, either before or after ComicCon, there may be a bunny meet in San Francisco for those bunnies in that area that are not able to make it. And it looks like Sanche is actually taking a trip to San Francisco specifically to meet with Moomanibi and Troy, if he's going to be in the area at the time. So we got a little bunny meet going there.
Nice.
So in terms of updates, that's about what I've got. Biggest question that I received since we did the last BunnyCast episode that talked about the Comic-Con was what exactly happens for each day. And I thought I'd start off talking about preview night. Killerfish, I can't remember. Have you been to a preview night?
Yes, I went in 2006 when I first went.
Oh, right. Yeah, I remember you telling us about that. And Robin, have you ever been to one of the preview nights?
No, I usually showed up too late. This year I should be around because of the Watcher get-together. Right.
Actually, before we start talking about the day-to-day there, let's actually talk about the Watcher get-together. You guys are calling it the convention, right?
Yeah, the convention. That actually begins Monday Monday's the get-together day before everything starts. And then we're all going to meet up for dinner or whatever. We don't have exact plans for that yet, but it's going to be pretty free-floating time. I know we'll have some people not getting until real late. And then Tuesday, we're heading to Boomers all day, playing video games, bumper boats, everything.
Yeah.
And that should actually be a pretty good time. And then Wednesday, before the preview night, we're going to head to the zoos or the whatever, just for fun.
Sea life's always good for going to.
Yeah.
As for the BunnyCon, we might join you for that dinner. That sounds like a really good plan on Monday. And I've got a few really good places in mind that we could go if you're interested, or if you guys want to keep it separate until Tuesday. Not a problem.
No, that would be fine.
Yeah, okay.
We have no plans really.
If you really want to go out of your way, there's a great place about 20 or 30 minutes drive away from San Diego that's they've got buffalo burgers, and I swear if you've never had a buffalo burger, it's delicious. And of course,
oh dear, sounds like something I'll be leaving half of on my plate again.
How big are they?
They are, I believe, a half a pound. They are big.
Ooh.
And the place I'm talking about is called Centafontes, if anybody wants to look it up on the web. They do have a website. It hasn't really been updated in a couple years, but it's the chef. We actually know her quite well, my wife and I. She started the restaurant from the family's candy shop. So the website you might find on the internet is probably for the candy shop. I don't know that they've got the restaurant's information up yet, but they started out with a pretty small selection of food, including Angus beef burgers, which Angus beef is almost as good as buffalo, quite frankly. But it's like all natural ingredients. They get their buns from a bakery that uses really good cooking process, and the fries are baked, not fried. It sounds like a contradiction, but that's a really good option. Of course, we got a couple pizza places where there's Woodstock Pizza. They've got their fire sauce pizza, which it's the tomato sauce, but they add hot sauce. My wife and I are trying to figure out what kind of hot sauce they add. It's really, really good. There's a couple places downtown, a couple places really close to the convention center itself. Unfortunately, the Spaghetti Factory closed down. That used to be the best place for that kind of thing. But so yeah. Anyways, dinner thing going there. For Wednesday for the BunnyCon, being an experienced ComicCon goer, I myself am going to be taking most of Wednesday as just a relaxation day, because I know how heavy-duty con can be. But of course we can combine with the watchers to go to the zoo as well. Okay, so I'll shut up.
The more the merrier.
Yes, I'll shut up about that now. Let's talk a little bit about preview night. Killerfish, do you have anything to say about preview night?
Actually go to some of the movies that they show on preview night. Don't just wander around the convention floor like a simp.
So what's
Guess what I
actually
did in
available on the
2006?
preview night?
I didn't get to preview anything because I just kept walking around the convention floor.
What's actually there on the preview night?
Well, I wouldn't really know.
In terms of events off of the show floor, I really can't say to that. However, if you're going to take a look at the show floor on preview night, that's actually really the best time for it. Preview night is usually not as packed as the other days on the show floor, so it makes it really nice to be able to wander around, get to some booths that otherwise would be way too crowded. First preview night I went to was the year that Sony was introducing the iToy for the PlayStation 2, and the lines were so short it was literally like a 5-minute wait to try this thing out. Whereas any other day of the con, you're literally waiting a half an hour just to try a game for 5-10 minutes, if that, as long as you survive that long, and then you're shuffled out to get the next person in by the booth personnel. So really getting to the floor on preview night, if you're going to do the preview night thing, I think that's the best time to do it. So yeah, I think that about covers what we have to talk about for preview night. Anything else, Killerfish?
Yeah. Insert generic compliment about being right.
Okay, let's talk about day 1, Thursday. Robin, we haven't heard much from you. Let's hear your impressions about the Thursdays.
Thursday was actually I like Thursday the best because it was the least crowded of all the days because it's before the weekend begins and people are still traveling to San Diego for the whole thing. And so, yeah, that was the day I was able to get stuff. Then I also scope out what I'm going to get, the exclusive toys from Hasbro and all that other stuff.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's still very crowded, though. We're still.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're still talking 15, 20, 30-minute lines for even simple stuff. But that is a good time to hit the show floor. In fact, that's when I usually do it if I wind up missing preview night. And I highly recommend anybody if they're the first time they go to Comic-Con, you just need to get that first look at the show floor out of the way as soon as possible. So just hit the show floor first thing Thursday morning, just so you can do the slack-jawed standing in awe of this literally mile-long show floor where it's just packed with more people that are into the same interest that you're in than you can possibly count. It is really an awesome thing just to see that for the first time. The first time my wife went on the show floor, I'd actually been to a convention before, not nearly as big, but I knew somewhat what to expect. First time my wife stepped onto the Comic-Con show floor, this was her first convention ever, she literally froze in place, her jaw hanging open, eyes buggling, trying to catch everything, and Comic-Con wasn't even as big at that point as it is now. And it was literally like 2 or 3 minutes before she could muster her legs to move to actually get onto the show floor. So getting getting that initial kind of shock and awe out of the way, getting that through your brain first thing is probably the best bet for your maximum enjoyment, I think.
Also, Thursdays are when you're more likely to see professionals and some of the comic book gods wandering around the floor, because I believe it was a Thursday when I was almost run over by Stan Lee.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, literally, I didn't know who was coming. I got shoved out the way, and then seconds later, Stan Lee was within inches of me.
Yes, the big names like Stan Lee are going to have their own entourage. You are not going to get close to them. Well, there is one exception. I will say this. Weird Al Yankovic does like to come to ComicCon periodically. And his name tag almost never says Weird Al. It usually says Al Yankovic or whatever the spelling of his name is. And if you're attentive and you're looking for him and you're lucky, you will get a chance to actually meet him. I know a guy who spends a lot of time doing anime music videos who did one to one of Weird Al's songs. He showed it to Weird Al, and apparently Weird Al really liked it, but said don't let the studio know that he did this unofficial music video.
Also, you might run into Joss Whedon, or if you like me, walk right past him without recognizing him. Yeah, I have all the luck, don't I?
It's your trademark memory strikes again.
Yes.
Jim, any questions so far about Thursday?
No, Thursday seems quite straightforward.
Yeah.
It's sort of a quiet day. Not a quiet day. But,
You can just hear the inverted fingers there.
I wasn't actually doing inverted fingers. I was gesturing, but it wasn't inverted fingers.
They are talking about finger quotes, right, guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, like around laser.
Not the other sort of inverted, the other way up.
Anyways. One thing that's happening this year is there's going to be a concert in town. I have mentioned it on the BunnyCast before. It's called Video Games Live. Robin, you'll probably be interested in this. Basically, it's a group of music producers, including the guy who did the music for Myst 3 specifically, and I think the rest of the Myst series after number 1. He and a bunch of other guys got together to put together this gorgeous full orchestration, full choir, stuff going on stage, like people coming out in Tron costumes and all this kind of good stuff of music from video games like Halo and Myst and Advent Rising, the really good music that you just want to hear in that full orchestrated form. Go ahead.
I wait to hear their version of the Mario theme.
I don't think they're doing the Mario.
Well, the most recent Mario, Mario Galaxy, is fully orchestrated.
Right. But, well, this is live, though, so there.
But yeah, I think I heard about it.
You heard about it on the podcast.
Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't, because I've not heard this one yet. But yeah, I think I read about it somewhere, and it sounded very, very good.
There is a free track, at least there was when I visited the site, for the Advent Rising portion of the show. If you go to the website videogameslive.com, and you can also see a trailer of what it looks like. The trailer is really what sold me on it. And again, my wife and I are going to be going this year. To give you an idea, there's a concert hall, an open-air concert hall behind the convention center, right on the waterfront. Killerfish, you'll probably remember this in 2006, I believe it was. Oh no, wait, you weren't there. This was when I was with AP and Lomgren. But Jolene was doing preview night. I was not. I was picking up. It was Lomgren, I think it was, at the bus stop. And AP joined me in that endeavor. And we parked behind the convention center while we were waiting for my wife to finish up with whatever her preview night stuff was. And we happened to be able to be there as they were the same orchestra was performing the Lord of the Rings. I can't remember what the traveling tour was called. It was like, Lord of the Rings Live, or whatever it was. And it was really, really good. It was so awesome to hear that. It's full on. It's like you're listening to the music from the movie, and they get professional singers to do the solo parts, and it's absolutely worth the time to even if you can't afford a ticket, just find a spot by the fence that you can sit and listen to it. It's good. So that's going to be Thursday night for this year. We're going to do the video games live thing. Killerfish, were you thinking about going to that, or were you just going to hang out at the convention?
I'll decide when I get there.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Does that sound like something that the watchers would be interested in, Robin?
Yeah, a few of them. A lot of people like that stuff. Though I know Jason won't be there. He's not into anything fun.
Is his personality like his portrayed in the comic?
Oh, yeah, very much so. He's hilarious, but he's a real cynic about everything. It's kind of funny.
So we should pack an emergency redhead wig then.
Yeah, that would. And he is so obsessed with redheads. It's really hilarious.
So, is it common in the sort of webcomic world to draw comics based on real people?
Yes.
Because obviously, Killerfish, you do it.
And I wasn't copying the watch at all.
Well, I know from my short run of a webcomic, I was basing it on my life a bit. Of course, I never had any demons in my refrigerator, but there you go.
Maybe you should have.
Yeah,
What happened to your webcomic then? Why did it? Was it only short-lived?
I couldn't muster the motivation to keep it going. I had a lot of good ideas, and I got a lot of compliments from what I did do, but it was kind of like what's facing Dan Shive right now, where the art style kind of required a bit more effort than would be convenient to do on a regular basis.
Oh, effort! Damn.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, I got to the point where I was doing each frame on a full 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, scanning it, scaling it down, doing some shading, throwing in some speech bubbles, stitching everything together, and it got to the point where it was more of a job than it was fun, and I wasn't being paid for it. So it's like, why am I doing this? But yeah, it was somewhat fun. I mean, anybody interested, I can send them a link to it. I did post it up on my personal website, but yeah, if I ever get a yen to do it again, I'll probably do so. But chances are I'll have like Killerfish do some drawings for me and do that instead. I'm a much better writer than I am an artist.
I'm a mercenary artist.
I
Pay
don't
me
think
enough
he
jelly
likes.
beans and I'll make you.
I don't think
enough
he
jelly
likes
beans.
drawing other people's stories, do you?
Well, there is that thing. I like just doing random stuff, so, random. But I have been kind of like training myself to listen to what other people want to do, as opposed to just going off on my random things. It's hard.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about closing up on day one. You're gonna start feeling tired. If this is your first ComicCon ever, you're gonna think, "Wow, this was quite a day." I can't imagine, being any more tired than I am right now. you won't know the half of it.
It's just like when you're a kid and you first go to camp or something.
It is very much like that. Robin, how have you felt in the past on the first day?
Oh, first days you feel pretty good at the end, one of those buzz feelings, and then when you finally sit down at the end of the day, you just like collapse because you have no energy left. And then you get up the second day, and oh my God, it's even worse.
Yes, and that brings us into day 2. Friday. This is when things start to get busy. I would like to point out that last year, Saturday sold out first, but Friday sold out almost as fast. It was like a difference of 24 hours between how fast it sold out. Last year, as a reminder for those who may not remember, was the first year that ComicCon decided to limit the number of people that could attend. Because
Fire Marshal was happy about that.
Yeah, when you have the equivalent of a small city cycling through the doors of a convention center, and frankly a large city, then you start to look and say, maybe we need to limit this a little bit. It's received its share of criticism, but it was massively successful from the administration side, and honestly, there hasn't been any reduction in demand for it. In fact, I would have to say it's kind of made the idea of going to Comic-Con a little more of a, oh, you got into Comic-Con? I can't even get tickets, that kind of thing. So Friday is very likely to be extremely busy. It's very likely to be sold out, and you will start seeing half-an-hour lines for booths, lines that stretch literally down one corridor, around a corner, around a second corner, then snaking down another corridor for some really popular forum.
I was lucky last year to walk into the Stargate forums.
Oh, jeez. Did we even try to get into the Stargate ones, Killerfish?
No, it was too busy.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But they were great, though. I gotta say that they were both awesome. The Stargate SG-1 was better, though.
I've actually started watching Atlantis now, so.
Atlantis has a bit of charm to it, but I think they're at the point where if they try to do too much, they're going to wind up with Star Trek Enterprise on their hands. And that just went over everyone's heads, I think.
Yep. Yeah. We're thinking. Jim's the real Star Trek aficionado.
Aficionado?
That's the one. Why is everybody correcting me?
For those unfamiliar with the Star Trek series, there was the original, which of course spawned the fandom, which of course spawned all these conventions that we go to nowadays. And then, of course, there was the Next Generation, which made it even more popular. And then they decided to ride that popularity and create Deep Space Nine, which was okay. And then Voyager came out, which was a love it or hate it kind of thing. If you liked it, you really liked it. If you didn't, well, you thought it sucked. Then they came out with Enterprise and
the prequel.
The prequel, yes, and
screwed it up completely.
Yeah, it was schizophrenic to say, to put it charitably. They had different overall arcs from season to season. There was one story arc that got dropped entirely just because nobody liked it, and it was like, nobody liked it because you didn't develop it. Anyways, if the Stargate people are not careful, they're going to wind up with a series on their hands that people are going to say, well, you drove it into the ground, you killed it, you monsters! So, okay, tangent over, rant over.
Rant over.
Day 2. Water bottles.
Indeed.
I can't put enough emphasis on that. Have a water bottle on you at all times. as we mentioned in the last ComicCon podcast, there is water conveniently available in the seminar rooms. They like to say, "Don't refill your water bottles from this water bottle dispenser," but nobody listens. I mean, seriously, everybody and their brother goes up to those things with their water bottles and refills them. I think they have to put that notice up for health reasons or something.
Yeah, because they released certain viruses into certain water fountains, and they don't want people to mix them up and get cross-contamination.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And don't forget your camera.
Yes, camera. Good call. Because without a camera, how are you supposed to remember things?
That's right. And then all these great people in costumes that you want to remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you do bring a camera, make sure that you're taking pictures of more than just a certain theme. I made the mistake of just taking pictures of cat girls last year, and everybody thought that the cat girls were my thing. I was doing that for Troy, who wanted me to take a bunch of pictures of cat girls. It wasn't me, really.
Yeah, sure it wasn't.
No, don't get me wrong. It was nice to have these rather cute girls in generally skimpy clothing with these cute little cat ears and tails on, and doing poses just for my picture of them. That was nice. Don't get me wrong. I am a warm-blooded, usually male. So I did appreciate that, but I'm not that into the cat girl thing. That was literally just for Troy. Oh yes, and you will, if you hang out with Killerfish and I, you will learn the phrase, "I love Comic-Con."
I do love Comic-Con. Oh, do I love Comic-Con. Dang on.
So yes, cameras and water bottles, absolute must, especially on the second day. And if you have a digital camera, make sure you pack batteries.
Lots and lots of batteries.
Yes, I made the mistake of not having batteries on Sunday, so there were no pictures on Sunday.
And if you're bringing a video camera and it needs to be charged, remember to bring a adapter if you're from outside of the United States. Very handy thing to have.
Yes.
You won't lose power.
Now, I know that there's a lot of people who don't drink energy drinks. I want to just talk a little bit about this here, because day 2 is when you're going to start to need them. Yeah, they don't taste good. Yeah, they kind of put your body into overdrive. It's like pouring nitro into what's the term? A budget car. But you will start to really feel draggy, and if you want to get to all the stuff you want to get to, you're gonna need an energy boost, and that can take the form of coffee. I'm not into that kind of thing, but some people are. Some people like doing sodas. And speaking of sodas, day 2 is usually when the Con Suite is open. Very good resource.
We're not supposed to tell them about that. Don't you remember what happened last year? Everybody came to the Con Suite. There was no food left.
Okay, so there is no Con Suite. You will...
Oh, it's a conspiracy.
The Con Suite's a lie.
Yes. Ignore our previous ramblings. That too.
So, but you will need an energy boost. Sugar and caffeine combined together usually do a pretty good job of it, but the energy drinks usually have a bit other stuff that help out with that. The one problem you get is when you actually let yourself crash after having the energy drink, you crash hard. So if you do take a Red Bull and it's your first time, you'll get about 8 hours out of it, and then you're going to crash hard. So have a second Red Bull handy so that you can keep going after that 8 hours. First time I ever had a Red Bull. I had it before an 8-hour shift at work. I was on top of the world for the entire 8 hours. Then I fell asleep on the bus on the way home.
Right. I'll remember to take a second one then, because we all know what I would be like on energy drinks.
So, yes, energy drinks are going to start becoming a must on Friday. Friday is also usually when the really good panels are held. Just because Thursday is kind of everybody getting geared up. Saturday is everything's way too busy to get into the good panels. Sunday panels can be good, but that's not really the purpose of Sunday. So Friday, if you're looking for a panel, chances are the good one that you're going to be able to get into is going to be on Friday. Robin, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, you're right about that for sure. If you're planning on panels, it's Friday's the day. I can't remember how it was last year. But so many are going on at once, though. Make sure you plan your day. Don't just go there and show up and say, oh, I think I might do this today. I'm not sure yet. Take a Thursday night, take your schedule, which I don't usually get till that. Then plan your day on Friday, so you know exactly what you're doing when.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And actually, sometimes, depending on how on the job the folks at the office for ComicCon are, you can actually download the schedule from the website the day or two before ComicCon actually starts. Of course, everything's subject to change. Be sure to pick up your update newsletter every morning. But if a little bit of planning goes a long way. Just so you're never sitting in a hall saying, well, what do I do? I can't get anything I want. Killerfish, any comments on that?
I think you covered it.
Yeah.
And that's not just my cop-out way of saying I've kind of like been drifting out in and out of the conversation for the past 5 minutes.
Have you been drifting in
it?
Sorry, I believe we were discussing some sort of blancmange.
No.
Honestly, should at least be listening.
Yeah, I'm even updating the text on all my old comics to get ready for my trade paperback, and I'm listening.
Yeah, see?
I'm very easily distracted. String! Woo! String!
No string. Put the string down. Step away from the string.
But it's so pretty and string-like.
Yeah, and whether or not I have a booth, which is still to be decided, I will have my stuff to sell with me, including figures, pins, postcards, and books.
Awesome. Yeah, we're working on that. I'm trying to get with the Comic-Con people on that. Let's see, what else Friday? Oh, for the bunnies. Friday is the day that we try to get all the bunnies together, if we haven't already met up on Thursday, for the knighting ceremony. Robin, did you happen to see the knighting ceremony last year?
No, I missed it. I believe I was in Stargate.
Yes. But
This year.
Yeah, I'll make sure it's planned this year because I'll have all the watchers with me.
Awesome. That should be a lot of fun. But you're the only honorary knight from the Watchers. Everybody else has to be a bunny first. Well, of course, you were a bunny first, so...
I was a bunny before I was a Watcher, yes. Because, I was reading that way before.
Yeah, we haven't knighted you, though, but that's okay. I think that your honorary knighthood should stand.
We haven't knighted Craggy either.
Well, yeah, but he breaks all the rules.
Yeah, I know. But if two people break the rules, then there isn't...
What?
Is anyone in line for knighthood this year, or is it not known in advance?
It's pretty much whoever winds up showing up and wants to be knighted. There's actually a few bunnies that have shown up that did not want to be knighted. I was kind of surprised.
Unless they turn up and want to be Valkyried.
Well,
Said.
yeah. For those who are unfamiliar with what's going on with that, Troy, who is one of my squires, took exception to the use of the term knights. Now, I do like the term knights. I have no problem with it myself, but he did kind of bring up a point of what's going to distinguish the Bunny Gesserit. So I thought about it a little bit. Said, you know what, Valkyries sounds good. Ran it by Troy. He said, yeah, Valkyries sounds good. Ran it by the other knights at last year's ComicCon, and from that point forward, any member of the Bunny Gesserit is not a knight. They are a Valkyrie.
Interesting. With the thing, and the place, at the time.
All right.
Anyway.
Yes. Another possible change this year, and we have discussed this, I believe, in the previous Comic-Con podcast. The knighting may not take place at the Keenspot booth.
Yes, due to, waving a sharp metal object around in a crowded environment is a really good idea.
But
I thought it was plastic in the photos.
That was before I got a real sword.
Yes.
Oh yeah, they had the real sword last year. I remember that.
How'd you get that into America?
Oh, he bought it here.
All right.
Yeah, in fact, it's still here at my place.
Because I couldn't figure out how to get it out of America.
Yeah, it looks like my place is going to become the bunny's weapons locker for overseas bunnies.
I didn't think America had a problem with exporting weapons.
Oh.
It's not America per se. We don't care if other people have weapons, really. It's the Homeland Security. They are doing a lot of really dumb things. Really, really dumb things when it comes to airports and imports and
exports. It does sound a bit dumb. Let's make this country more secure by not letting people take weapons elsewhere.
Well, yeah, that's a whole debate for another day, but yeah, so we will have a knighting, and it's probably not going to be by the Keenspot booth. And when Killerfish gets here in America, we're going to sit down and hash out where that might be. And I'm hoping...
Security.
Huh?
We'll have to avoid security. Testy about things as well.
Surely that's part of the challenge, is to do it right under their noses without them noticing.
Yeah. One of the nice things about being on staff is that the staff members get to go on the floor before anybody else. But the irritation is that you have to flash your staff badge to every single security person that thinks they're important. Now, I don't really have a problem with showing my staff badge to get into the con hall in the first place. Because, obviously getting into the convention center hall, that's an obvious gatekeeping position. But I should not have to show my staff badge every 5 feet once I'm on the show floor.
Yeah.
We had a sort of a clip-on thing? Yeah. Is it just a pass card that you have to carry around in your pocket?
It's your badge.
Yeah.
You wear it around your neck like everyone else.
So if it's around your neck, why do you need to show it? If it's around your neck, they can see it, can't they?
You would think.
We had a fun time
Are they a bit
last
slow?
year. We had a fun time last year, Homer and myself, when we were actually doing work for the masquerade, and we were taking something from one place to the other, obviously doing work for the convention, and we got stopped by a security guard who said, "You can't go that way." And I had great fun saying, "Yes, we can."
Yeah.
Too. I said, "We're staff." He said, "Prove it." And then the look on his face when he realised we were staff.
That I kind of...
Predictive? Me? Never.
Are they just hired goons?
They are.
They put goon in Goonish Shive.
Yeah.
I wish I could say otherwise. I mean, I am on staff for the ComicCon, and you believe me, this has been debated up one side and down the other at least once a year for the con staff. The security, the abysmal behavior of security toward the guests, towards staff, towards everybody, but it's one of those things where it's like either them or a company that's even worse. So, it's one of those things we're always looking for alternatives to.
So they're the lesser of two weasels.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Anybody got some good security rants that they want to talk about?
Only that my luggage was broken into whilst coming in and out of the country, and that's vaguely security related.
I thought they did that with everyone's.
No, they broke my luggage, literally.
All the
it was a brand new bag as well, new wheelie bag. And
Well, that'll teach you. Don't bring new bags.
Yeah, they literally had to break the zip to get into my luggage, and it wouldn't close properly afterwards.
all the like travel padlocks and things in the shops have labels on the packaging saying that they're able to be opened by American inspectors.
Yeah.
It's like, surely then anyone could just pinch whatever it is that these American inspectors use to get in, and anyone could get in. So there's no point in locking it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got to remember the main reason for your lock is just to keep your zipper from coming open in flight. That's pretty much about it.
Yeah, he does have a point. That is actually really the only reason that I would use a lock at this point. And honestly, it's one of those things where I don't agree with the ACLU, that's the American Civil Liberties Union, on much, but if the ACLU could possibly get this thing removed, where it's an illegal search and seizure basically, and they're doing it to American citizens and foreigners alike, irregardless of whether there's an actual suspicion of wrongdoing. It's just totally wrong, and it needs to stop. Really, it does. I haven't even had.
You're not me, you could possibly be a terrorist.
Exactly.
Suspicion all counts.
Well, you're not helped to Killerfish by being British, and of course all Americans know from the movies that British people are evil. So
Yes.
you're doomed from the start.
Yes, I'm not sure which movie you may be talking about, but sure.
Oh, didn't you know? From like Star Wars, all the bad guys are British.
No, really.
Obi-Wan Kenobi was British as well, though, so that he wasn't really a bad guy.
Well, obviously you've not seen a special edition of Star Wars, where it's kicking puppies.
I don't know if it was the same Britain, because it was a long time ago in a galaxy far away, but it must have been another Britain there.
And then he was stomping on kittens, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That evil Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, they're evil scientists, in which case they've got to be German.
Yeah,
That's right. Now, everyone knows about that.
We've really tangented here.
I'm an evil greengrocer! With cabbages.
Okay, let's getting back to day 2. Yeah, we're still on day 2.
Have you ever seen an evil Australian?
Yes, I believe so. Have you never watched Mad Max?
Yeah, Mad Max is
No.
pretty much it.
Yeah.
No, you need to. Anyway, date.
Mel
Where are
Gibson
we
is
on
pretty
day 2
evil.
anyway?
I think we are right about talking about how everybody's going to feel at the end of day 2.
Oh, yeah. Unless you've actually... What I did last year was I'd actually watched about 8 hours of panels last year on day 2. And that helped a lot.
Not doing a whole lot of moving around and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the end of day 2, if you were tired at the end of day 1, chances are at the end of day 2 you're going to be totaled. Going back and forth, I mean, you're literally going to be walking probably a good, what would you say, 15, 20 miles in one day?
Pretty much.
Yeah, if you're circling if you're circling downstairs, you're definitely going to hit. That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even we didn't even really do much on the floor last year on Friday. We were mostly doing panels in anime rooms, and we were exhausted at the end of the day.
Speak for yourself.
Um,
That's fine. I was up for another 8 miles across San Diego again.
yeah. Well, no, that was 2006. Last year you...
Yeah, but I could still do 8 miles across San Diego, you know.
Right.
I'm up for it.
Okay, so Saturday morning.
Saturday morning, you're tired as hell and you don't want to go.
That's pretty much it. That's when you're...
Sounds like any old Saturday morning.
That's when your body starts to say, no, you cannot do this anymore. And if you needed an energy drink on Friday, you are sure as hell going to need an energy drink on drip on Saturday.
Look into my veins!
Saturday gets intense, and basically that it's the day that separates the men from the boys. If you've been going through the entire con, it really, really is the day that you push yourself to go. Now, I will say it is absolutely worth it, and once you get there, you're having too much fun to realize that your body's screaming, "Stop it! Stop!"
Yes. That's generally the day my jet lag starts cutting out and I actually get back to normal. Which is weird because when I go over there, I actually wake up a lot earlier and I have more energy. And when I get back, I feel the jet lag. Weird. Anyway, I digress. Saturday.
So, I mean, sorry, I'm interrupting here.
No, go ahead.
But there's quite a few days. Is there... If I were to go, hypothetically, would there be enough to interest me for the full length of the con? As someone who's fairly new to sort of webcomics.
Well, it's not just about webcomics. There are a wide variety of interests there. You've got your computer games, you've got your, well, we said webcomics, you've got your print comics, you've got pretty much a wide selection of any nerd pastimes. You can find
Collectibles,
it
toys,
there.
models, Legos, anime, movies. Yeah, just like Killerfish said, if it's a nerd-related pastime, it's going to be there in some capacity.
But as it's ComicCon and not something like Dragon Con, it's more about the comics than it is about other things.
Well, yeah. I mean, everything's going to have some sort of comic tie-in, like 300 when they were giving out tickets to the screening at the baseball stadium. Naturally, that had the comic tie-in of it was originally a comic by Frank Miller.
Right.
But it was still a movie. And there were a lot of people who showed up just because there was going to be 300 tickets and swag and paraphernalia and all that kind of good stuff.
And last year, Robert Downey Jr. was there for Iron Man.
Oh yeah.
That looks good.
Yeah, it does.
I've got to see that. Oh. Talking of comics which are coming into movies, what about the new, is it Watchmen movie? I think it's Watchmen.
I'm reserving judgment on that until I see... I mean, I haven't even seen a trailer for it. The Watchmen...
There are images up of what the characters look like now, somewhere.
The Watchmen comic...
If Squatto was on, he would point them out, because he knows. Bad Squatto.
if the Watchmen comic was good for the most part, I didn't like the ending. That was, and that's a creative difference for me. Of course, I don't like endings where it ends on a dark note anyway. For me, that screams sequel. But
Yes.
yeah.
Were you expecting some sort of sound effect to come in there and scream sequel at you?
No,
I don't know if we've got one of those.
I'll throw that in post-production.
Okay.
See, this is why I want to keep control of this. Okay, so back to Saturday. The one major thing I would say for Saturday, it's kind of like Friday in that it's going to be busy as hell. Half an hour to an hour long lines to get into panels, 15-minute to 30-minute lines for booths, all that kind of thing. The floor is going to be packed. Hell, the walkway outside the floor is going to be packed. But the one major difference between Friday and Saturday for me and Killerfish and any other bunny that volunteers for the masquerade is going to be, well, you got to show up to volunteer for the masquerade at around 5 o'clock. And to be quite frank, at around 5 o'clock on Saturday is when my general ComicCon experience ends and my masquerade experience begins, because I've been doing the masquerade as a volunteer since the second year I started going to Comic-Con. So, Robin, you're going to have to pick up the details as to what happens after that.
Well, the thing is that last year I did wait in line for masquerade starting about 4 o'clock. So, yeah, that's just about when it happened for me. But that was fun sitting in line, and I was really tired then, so wasn't too bad that I was sitting that time, but it was a nice chance to rest.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think Killerfish is doing something.
No,
I think
I'm back now.
Oh, he's back.
Sorry about that.
Yes, before Killerfish so rudely interrupted. Yeah, okay, so nobody knows what happens outside of the masquerade. That should give...
Well, what happens at the masquerade? It sounds like, from my outsider's point of view, like some sort of high society French ball where you all dress up in sort of ball gowns and dinner jackets with little masks. Is that basically it?
No. That's honestly what I thought it was too at first. And my wife is, first year we're there, my wife's saying, "Oh, we need to go to this." And I'm like, "We don't have costumes." "Oh, according to such and such, we don't have to." And so, okay, that's weird. What it is, once you get into the room where the masquerade is being shown, you're actually watching the whole thing. It's more of a costume contest than anything else. But it's a lot of fun. It's very interactive theater-ish in that the people on the stage are very aware that there's an audience there and will often do things in reaction to what the audience's reaction to them is.
All hail Brain.
Oh, yes.
All hail Brain, yes. That was last year.
And as I mentioned before, that was a beautiful, absolutely gorgeous hijacking of the All Hail Kang from the previous year. It starts out, usually there's some sort of trailer that gets shown because, hey, they've got a captive audience, might as well show some stuff. Then the head of the masquerade comes out, Martin Jacquish, who is basically my boss for the entire duration from 5 o'clock onward for the rest of the evening. And he will introduce the host. And usually the host is the author and artist of Girl Genius Phil Folio. And he has a wry sense of humor. Now, this last year, which something that was a nice twist up from the usual, where Phil Folio will come out by his lonesome. His wife was there, and my understanding is that the reason his wife had not been there in previous years is that she was going through some sort of illness, cancer or something like that. So she's number one, she's commended to be commended for going through it that well. But when you see her, you very clearly get the idea where Phil gets his artistic inspiration from, in terms of model for Agatha from Girl Genius. She does look like
His
Agatha.
muse.
Yes, his muse. Very good. In any case, they will usually give some sort of introduction of themselves and then introduce the masquerade. Oh yes, they will also introduce the judges. Judges will usually be members of Hollywood costuming and special effects teams. Some really big names, like the guy who did the costume and set design for Beetlejuice. I cannot remember his name off the top of my head, but the awesome part about that was, ironically enough, one of the contestants chose to do a Beetlejuice costume that year.
That was a pretty good one.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
it was. The pictures are definitely available online. You can probably also get video online. I don't know that ComicCon is actually releasing video themselves, but I'm sure there's some fans that managed to grab some video of it.
I was too far away for any of my pictures to come out.
Yeah. But it's a big room. It's a big room. What would you say, a football field in size?
Just about.
Yeah. It's huge. For those outside.
What's that in English units?
100 meters or so.
Easily.
Right. Put it in terms of a soccer field.
No idea how big a soccer field is.
Bigger than a soccer
It's not
field.
really particularly good because a soccer field, if you like, isn't a fixed size. It's not even a fixed shape other than rectangle.
It's bigger than any soccer field that I've known in America. If that helps.
Vaguely.
Okay, let's see.
An Olympic-sized swimming pool would be a convenient.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
It is 2 to 3 times as long as your standard Olympic-sized swimming pool, and I would say easily 3 to 4 times as wide.
Okay.
That should give you some frame of reference for it. And if you don't get a good spot in line early, then you're going to be stuck in back. Now, not to worry, there are screens and there's a decent sound system. Can't always hear what the narration is for the skits are, but you can always hear the announcers and commentators pretty clearly. And the screens do provide a very clear idea of what's going on stage, as well as they do a pretty good job of making sure you can at least see the stage from any point in the room.
And if you can't get into the room, there are, I believe there's a secondary site which you can go into.
2 secondary rooms. There's room 20 is the room it's held in. And for people who haven't been to the convention center, they'll have no idea what I'm talking about. Room 20 is the biggest room in the convention center, aside from the convention floor itself. Room 6 is the second largest room in the convention center. And then there's the sale room, which is kind of a halfway point. The reason it's called the sale room is because there's these big cloth overhead things that form part of the architecture of the sale room overhead, and that's also a very, very large room. And this last year they showed the masquerade, of course, in the masquerade room itself, but they also piped a live video feed into room 6 and into the sale room. It's obviously a very popular event. There's no other event, even like the big name movie trailer and panels, get that kind of coverage.
And last year, you could actually see my large hair on the screen.
May it rest in peace.
Yes.
Yeah. Gonna miss that hair.
So, Robin, I've only ever been a spectator once. What's your experience as a spectator of the Mask?
It was pretty good. I didn't have the best view of either screen. I was kind of sitting under one and far away from another. And I could, yeah, it wasn't the best place. But I could still see the stage pretty well. And it is best viewed on the stage because you can gather more than what's on the screen.
Yeah. Because the screen, it's like watching a movie that's been fit to TV screen dimensions. you do get some of it clipped off. It's always best to be able to see the stage. Well, and again, they do a pretty good job making sure you can. Bring binoculars if you think you're going to be in the back. One little tip I would leave you guys with in regards to the masquerade. If you're going to be a spectator, make sure you get your tickets for the masquerade early. If you don't have a ticket, you don't get in the door, which means you're going to be stuck in either the sale room or room 6. And you can get those by going to the masquerade booth, which is not on the floor, and it's not by any of the other admin booths for the masquerade. It is on the second floor, outside the sale room, by room 20. And I'm going to repeat that just so you can write this down, or if you're listening to this later on, I would like, let's say you download this as a guide for the show floor. It is on the second floor, outside the sale room, next to room 20. And by the time you reach Saturday of ComicCon, you will know exactly where that is that I'm talking about.
And we'll probably be there to show you on our previous wonders.
Indeed, we probably will. So get your ticket, get in line early. Excuse me. I'm just going to put in a little plug. If you volunteer for the mask, you're going to get a better seat than anybody else in the room. Either you're going to be in front of the stage as a quote catcher. Of course, in the entire time I've worked the masquerade, nobody's had to catch anybody coming off the front end of the stage. Or you're going to be a stage ninja, working on either side of the stage itself on the wings. And
Let's do that this year.
yeah, I hope that's where we wind up. Honestly, in my opinion, that's a preferred place. But of course, I've got really big ass long legs that make it hard to crouch down in front of a stage. One thing to keep in mind if you do volunteer, tensions run high. It is a stage production, and it is a live stage production, and it is a live stage production where anything can happen. So there's a lot of people that are going to be cranky and snippy and bite your head off at the slightest little thing. The thing to remember is that these are people doing their job. They know how to do it. They do it well. They probably have done it for many years before you even thought about going to Comic-Con. So if they tell you to move, they are telling you to move, and you better move because it is a live stage event where anything can happen. And if you don't move when they tell you to move, then chances are something is not going to happen that's supposed to happen. As to the contestants themselves, they usually have some really good costumes, especially when looked at on stage or in pictures. We kind of mentioned the Beetlejuice costume.
The Doctor Who costume was good last year, and the Dalek.
Oh, the Dalek was awesome. Robin.
Yeah, that was really awesome.
Yeah.
You could see it from where I was sitting.
Kind of a pain in the butt to maneuver up the stairs getting onto the stage, from what I understand. Yeah, really, really good stuff. What's your favorite costume, Ben Robin?
Let's see if I remember from last year's. I had a personal preference to the World of Warcraft one since I play that so often. Those were actually pretty good.
Yeah, they were. They were very good. Killerfish.
Favorite costume?
Pinky and the Brain one. And it's not just because of them hijacking the popular meme, but basically because the costumes actually looked good. They had the cartoony aspect to them which comes from the Pinky and the Brain.
Very true, very true. See, my all-time favorite is actually both my all-time favorite is there's a father-son team that usually works together, and one year they did from Powerpuff Girls Mojo Jojo and Mojo Jojo. They had one. The father dressed up in this giant robot mecha costume, and they put him out on stage first, and he was holding absolutely still next to a stepladder, so you couldn't see that it was a guy dressed up in a costume. In fact, if you didn't know it was a guy dressed up in a costume, they did the costume so well, it looked like a set piece. It looked like a prop that somebody had brought out for this purpose. And then the kid came out dressed as Mojo Jojo, and my heavens, he looked straight out of the cartoon. And he climbed up on top of the, quote, robot, close quote, and the robot stood up and walked around, and again, it looked like he came right out of the comic. And they walked off stage like that. It was really, really well done. Again, I think that's my favorite costume, although I do want to say, this is the costume that will go down in ComicCon legend. I don't know that anybody else on this podcast, I don't think anybody else saw this, unless Robin, you happen to be there and just haven't said so. The I'm Just a Bill costume.
When was that?
From that singing one.
Yes,
You're Killing Me.
Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah.
Anybody outside the U.S., you might not be familiar. Schoolhouse Rock did an animated short that was shown to American kids. Since
20 years ago.
Yeah, 20 some odd years ago. It's still popular. It's still, of course, still relevant because
Jim might be more familiar with the Simpsons parody of it.
Probably.
Yeah, I remember that parody.
But
No, I don't.
basically, the character is a bill that has been written to be considered for law in the U.S. Legal system. And the cartoon basically talks about the process of an idea going from somebody has this notion of this should be a law to the bill being drafted, and then the bill going through all the steps that it has to go through in the American civic system before it actually becomes a law. And it was a very popular cartoon, not just because it was educational, but it was also very well done, had some, actually for the time, pretty good music, and the production values were actually top-notch for the series. And this person did a costume. It looked like the Bill stepped straight out of the cartoon. It really did. And of course, when the music kicked in, this guy walks out, every single person in the audience is just going nuts. Ah, the Bill! And he parades back and forth a little bit, and then just the crowd's roar is getting more and more as he's going back and forth, showing just how good this costume is, right? And then he reaches down, grabs the button that says Bill, pulls it off, and it says Law. And I swear, I mean, if the roof could have come off from the screaming and yelling and shouting and clapping and stomping, it would have. Standing ovation. It was. I mean, this was like genuine. You have never seen a moment like this in your life. You will never see it again. And the guy walked off, and sure enough, he won like 2 or 3 awards that night. So,
not.
That that's about what the masquerade is like. Is you just get these people coming out in these costumes that are really cool, and the one downside to the night is usually halftime. Robin, you probably remember halftime.
Yeah.
This last year actually was a pretty good halftime where a martial arts dojo.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Now I remember halftime.
They did a pirates versus ninjas thing, and the pirates were from Pirates of the Caribbean, and the ninjas were from the series Naruto. I don't know why they picked Naruto. I don't like Naruto. I think Naruto should be sequestered to the same niche market that a lot of other martial arts anime is in, but somehow it's become really popular, and this martial arts dojo decided to use that as their theme, which is fine. They did a really good job, I think. And it kept the audience entertained, and we got the chant going of pirates versus ninjas. But the year before that was Killerfish. Do you want to talk about the year before that?
Year before that, it was this guy who was taking songs and making parodies of them, a la Weird Al Yankovic, but doing it really, really poorly, a la Cher.
Oh, you take that back. That's dirty words, man.
Does Cher do parodies?
He was referring to the overall musical and lyrical quality to the work, not the fact that it was a parody. Now, I will say that I thought it was a bit of an entertainment thing. I thought it was actually okay, but a lot of the audience really hated it. There were people who normally would have stayed around to find out who won what that got up and walked just because of the halftime show.
Yeah, same thing happened in the secondary broadcasting, secondary receiving place thing, viewing. I know what I'm talking about.
Room 6.
Yes.
And the problem with the halftime show is it's usually really late by that time. I mean, the show itself starts at what, 7:30, 8 o'clock?
Yeah.
And then you got people coming out and taking time, and then the audience takes time doing chanting, and whenever the audience gets really riled up, Phil Folio usually tells a joke, and it's usually very bad.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking bad as in it's a groaner joke. I'm talking bad as in it's poorly delivered. It's just not a very funny joke usually. But so he'll tell bad jokes until the audience settles down enough for him to introduce the next act. So all in all, you get usually by the time the judges get a chance to even break to go out and discuss what they're going to give as awards, it's usually like 10 or 11 at night. So it's already late to begin with, so people are already wanting to go home. And then if the halftime show is bad, a la the guy who was doing the parody songs, you can empty that hall pretty damn quick. Fortunately, enough people stuck around that time, and of course a lot of people like the martial arts exhibition, that you do get a decent crowd sticking around to hear who gets awarded what. And that was actually quite a bit of fun this last year, especially because, again, a lot of people hung around for the martial arts exhibition. Enough so that, in fact, that getting out of the convention hall, even for the staffers who have to stay later than any of the audience, had a hard time getting out because there was still so many people. And one thing they did this last year that I thought was nice after the masquerade is there was actually a party that was held, kind of a rave-ish, DJ-ish party without the ecstasy. in the sale room, and I think there were refreshments early on, but by the time the staff got to go through the sale room, there were none. They were gone. They had been raised over like locusts go through a cornfield during a famine. It was bad.
I mean, I barely got to taste any of the nacho dip. So upsetting. That nacho will forever be out of my reach.
So, end of day 3. Robin, as a spectator for the masquerade, you probably just went straight to your hotel room, I'm guessing. How was the end of day 3 for you?
Yeah, I did. I was really tired at the end of day 3, and I was with Tom Cat at the time, and we just went back. And my brother was there with us that day too. So yeah, we were pretty tired, and we just went home or went back to the hotel on the border, which was a scary place. And then we just watched TV till we fell asleep and get ready for the next day, which was a short one.
Yeah. The one downside to being staff for the masquerade is you are exhausted by the time the end of day 3 is over. I do tell this to people who I talk to about being a member of masquerade staff. The year AP, Killerfish, and Lomgren were staying here with us, I was the driver, naturally. I was the only one with an American driver's license. So we...
Do you have to have an American license to drive there, then?
You don't. I don't know, but I wasn't willing to risk it.
No, you have to have an American license to legally drive there.
But
Do you have to have an American license to be insured in your car?
Yes. Specifically, you have to have an American license, be legally allowed to drive, and be named Christopher James McFarland, who lives on 3138 Meade Avenue, San Diego, California 92116, in order to drive my car. That's how specific my insurance is. In any case, so we had finished up doing the stage ninja thing. We carted everybody off to the con suite, which thankfully was still open at that point. AP and I, who were the stage ninjas that year, we got ourselves I think I had 4 Dr. Peppers by the time I felt up to going, but we were just wasted. And naturally, who got picked to go to get the car to pick everybody else up? Why, the 2 people who had done the most activity that night. Me and AP, who had literally done the most running around, period, of anybody else that day, even amongst the con staff. We were tasked with going to get the car. And it's a good thing that there were 2 of us doing it, because we kept falling asleep on the shuttle bus taking us to the nearest drop-off point to go get the car. And then we still had to hike to get to the car. And to make matters worse, I couldn't remember where I had parked the car. And I had about half of downtown San Diego to figure out where the heck I had parked the car. And so I knew if I got to this street and just walked down it, I would remember where I parked. And fortunately, I did remember. And I got to the car. I got AP in the passenger seat. I got in the car, and the rest of the night is a complete blank. I have no idea how we got home. The next thing I remember is waking up on Sunday morning.
You seemed pretty lucid when you picked us up, but that might have been kind of like the Dr. Pepper talking.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. My brain just checked out at that point. I was done. I just hadn't stopped moving.
Was that Dr. Pepper a real person, or is it just a made-up name?
I believe it's a made-up name.
He wasn't
Well,
just
actually,
sort of
Dr.
German
Pepper
mad
works on
scientist.
the Manhattan Project. Dr. Pepper worked on the Manhattan Project.
It
And
definitely wasn't a German mad scientist.
So
Okay.
Sunday morning, as Robin said, it is the short day, and it's short because nobody wants to do anything.
I actually had to drive home on Sunday, so
Oh, okay. So
back to Phoenix.
oh, you live in Phoenix. That's
I live in Prescott now, but yeah, it's a short drive for me. Not 6-hour drive.
then you and my wife will have a lot to talk about. That's where she grew up.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't grow up here actually. I grew up in California.
Anyways, Killerfish, why don't you talk a little bit about the start of day Sunday?
Sunday is... It's one of those days when you really just want to be lazy and not really do much. So there will be a lot of people who are just going into various different rooms where activities are going on just to sleep in the chair.
He's not joking either. That is absolutely 100% true.
And the problem is that this encourages camping in the rooms and means that other people who are actually going to see certain things can't get in.
Well, yeah, but it's Sunday. Is that really going to be a big issue on Sunday?
I'm still angry.
Well,
Still
yeah,
angry.
that was because people were camping on Saturday and Friday. I mean, that's just rude.
Yeah.
Camping by
But
the
hey,
way,
we got to watch some anime out of it, so
That's
hey,
true.
not fine.
uh,
But yeah, the only other thing with Sunday is because it's the last day, you'll get people who are coming in just for that one day because that's when they've actually can schedule time to get in there, and they think, hey, it's Sunday, not everybody's going to be there, so let's go and it'll be nice and empty. Big mistake. It's almost as full on Sunday as it is on Friday or Saturday. So yeah, don't get complacent about the convention hall being completely open for people to walk around. It's just as packed. And you will find yourself in a train of moving bodies being pushed around the convention hall with no idea where you're going.
That's very true. And in addition to the people who think Sunday's going to be a slow day, you also get the people who know that they're going to get a really good deal on whatever is being sold on the floor. And you do get fantastic deals on like say the limited edition figurines that are only supposed to be sold at ComicCon, for instance.
Right. Any ones that are left over is the day everyone goes to grab them. It's usually a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So don't count on it, though. The ones you may want the most may have been gone on Friday.
Yeah. It's not a guaranteed thing that you're going to find what you're looking for, but if you find it, it's probably going to be cheap because the vendors are trying to get as much product out the door so they don't have to pay to ship it back home. So yeah, it is a good day to have your money saved up for. But if you miss that opportunity, you know what? It's not a big deal. I don't think my wife and I have ever bought anything at Comic-Con, let alone on Sunday. But you know, if that's the kind of thing you want to do, is to go to pick something up, then definitely Sunday is the day to do it. Also, a lot of stuff that you might have had to pay for earlier in the con, like on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you might get for free on Sunday. It's not common. Doesn't always happen, and they don't always advertise that it's going to happen. But if you happen to be in the right place at the right time, you're going to be one of those lucky people that can grab some free stuff that other people had to pay for.
And that's a secret you've only learned here on the BunnyCast. You flew till 12 o'clock at night.
If you want to hang out at Comic-Con until the very last second and beyond, you better find somebody with a staff badge. Killerfish and I, of course, the last couple cons have had staff badges, and so it has never been any question about whether or not we can hang out, say, in the sale room when everybody else is being cleared out. And that's actually really nice because you get to sit around and wait for the big crowds to disperse when everybody's going home at around 5 or 6 o'clock. And then you can just leave nice and comfortably at around 7 and go home and crash.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
That's so much fun.
And if you
And
think...
flipping off the security guards as well.
Yes, being able to walk around with impunity as they sort of, but they're not supposed to be here. Ha ha, staff. Suck it. But it is actually very much worth it to wait until the big crowds have dispersed in order to go home. Even if that's the only reason you hang out until 6 or 7 in the evening. Absolutely worth it. Killerfish, anything else you want to add on that?
It's if you're going to be hanging out until the big crowds have dispersed, I'd bring some sort of snack with you, or some sort of snack for me. So
that's actually a good point. I would agree with that, and like maybe something to read if you haven't picked something up during the con itself.
yes.
Yeah, by 6 or 7, I'll probably be back in Prescott.
Okay, Jim, any questions? Jim?
No. I think you've given a very clear description of what happened. I can understand it, so I'd assume most people could if they understand what a convention actually is, which I'd imagine most people know.
Well, I'm sure they've seen it on TV, if nothing else.
All right, I have to go now. I'll have to talk to you guys later.
All right, thanks for showing up, Robin.
No problem.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And then there was free.
Yes. Yeah, that's pretty much the BunnyCast. Everybody give a big thank you to Robin for participating. It was actually very nice to have his point of view on things and being able to hear things from kind of the other side, because being staff, I don't always see things from the attendee perspective. Okay, I think we're going to skip a Q&A this podcast. I don't see any reason to do it. Jake did instant message me just before the podcast saying that he had posted some questions, but I think we're going to skip it. We're running a little long.
Yeah.
Killerfish, is it about your bedtime?
It's 11:15. Yeah.
All right, so
It's past my bedtime, certainly.
let's talk a little bit about Irregular Webcomic, just to cross all the I's and dot all the T's. Squatto isn't here to gloat to about having read the entire thing and enjoyed it thoroughly, so I'm going to gloat in lieu of having him here, and assuming he's going to pick it up when he listens to the podcast itself. Yes, I did enjoy it. It was actually a fun webcomic. I got a kick out of the fact that everything was done in Lego or models.
Lomgren would approve.
Indeed, he would. If he doesn't know about it already, I'm going to send a shout out right now. Say, Lomgren, go read Irregular Webcomic. You will love it. Some irreverent humor makes a little bit of fun of religion on occasion, but sometimes that's really good humor. I honestly don't really have anything bad to say about the comic itself. Killerfish?
I like the fact that he made jokes about people who do role-playing games. You know?
So,
But
yeah.
other than that,
Definitely read it on my end.
read it. Yep.
Okay.
Go check it out. I believe it's my turn to suggest a comic today.
Go ahead and suggest away.
I suggest General Protection Fault.
Another classic. All right.
Indeed.
Okay, that handles that. Killerfish, got any projects going on?
Aside from the secret ones, I've got the sleeping project that I've been working on. This is the project where I plan on sleeping and actually having a bit of free time.
Okay. I guess it's kind of silly to ask about our project. Is that one of the secret projects that you're talking about?
Yes, that's one of the secret projects I'm talking about.
Okay, I was not aware.
Are they?
Go ahead.
Are they so secret that you can't tell us how many secret projects there are, or are you able to say how many there are?
They're so secret, I've got to keep them stored in separate parts of my brain. Because if one secret part knew about the other secret, then there'd be a mutually exclusive war between the two secret projects, and one would be eliminated. And I don't want that to happen.
As to our project, does it have to be secret, or?
Oh no, you can tell if you want to.
Okay.
I don't mind.
Well, I did want to tell because it does pay to generate hype. And speaking of paying, did we want to see about charging for the final published product, or no?
It might be a good idea for.
Okay, well, here's what's going on for those of you who are still listening and still clueless. Killerfish and I are working on a project that's related to Keenfans. It is Squatta's Adventures in Babysitting. Those of you familiar with the forums will remember the virtual baby, Xena, that came about as a result of Squatto and myself doing a quote tango, and the precise contents of that tango are still open to debate. And in any case, the comic is going to be about Squatta having to babysit Xena, and this is done fully without Killerfish's permission or approval. Or not Killerfish, Squatto's permission or approval, so it promises to be quite fun. Especially seeing how Squatto reacts to the entire thing. One thing I will say is that we are planning on doing a full published comic. The original brainstorm for this came from the idea of generating money for the Order of the Bunny. And that's probably where funds are going to go from the sales of this. In the meantime, though, we will be publishing the individual pages to Killerfish's website or Shastrix or however that gets to look. Haven't quite gotten that far. So that's one thing that Killerfish and I are working on. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about our wonderful web host. Who wants to handle this one?
Do you want to talk yourself, Jim, or do you want me to just flatter you and Ash?
I don't think I can talk about me as if I'm wonderful. I think that would be rather sort of egotistical.
Okay.
Well, I do it all the time.
So I think if the whole point of this is to say how wonderful I am, then you should do it.
Okay. Yeah. Jim and Ash are great. That's it.
I always get less than I'm expecting from Darfur.
Okay, yes, Shastrix.com, or did you say you had another URL that you were going to use?
We've got shastrix.co.uk now as well, which isn't much different. But
yeah, well, it's not much different.
If people forget, they don't have to think. It doesn't matter. But yeah, can I plug that we are open to having more webcomics on the site?
Yeah.
If people want to to start drawing or move from another site?
Actually, this is the perfect time to talk about that. So yeah, that's great. Thank you. Okay.
Is it okay? I've just said that without knowing, but obviously something's going on that I don't know about. But
I'm sorry. Is it? What's going on?
I don't know. You said it's perfect time to talk about that. I don't know what that means.
No. You just talked about it. That was perfect. That was great. Hold that thought. Stay right there. Perfect. Don't move. And good. Great. You're done. Okay, Killerfish. Let's talk about Laguna Shive. People should read it, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. We're done. Okay, just a reminder, our guests have been Robin, a.k.a. Sir Robin, the not appearing in this comic.
Who ran away.
Yes, who bravely ran away.
Brave Sir Robin ran away. Bravely ran away.
Our other guest has been Jim of Shastrix.com. Thank you both. And I've been Dame Helennet the LeatherClad.
And he's been Dame Helennet the LeatherClad.
And this has been Killerfish, who's picking up on the obligatory being a silly lump that Squadron normally fulfills. Say goodbye, everybody.
Can we get a little?
Huh?
Can we get a little next time on the BunnyCast at the end? Or do you not plan that
But
far?
I can't get the red wire. They're all red wires.
Dun dun dun! Sounds tense. Okay, yeah, that's it. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Sometimes I feel like I'm controlled like a hero in a comic book, baby. Chasing one day after the next, no settle down, no easy text, baby. But it makes me feel alive when you're here by my side. You complete the two of us, you make the rules apply. It's a crazy world, in a twisted turn of reality. It's you and me, and I need you here to keep some sanity. We are but pawns in a faded game of cat and mouse. Maybe a couple of headshots thrown out here and there. This crazy world is all messed up, all in my hair. I've got you, I don't care.
The BunnyCast is produced and directed by Dame Helennet the LeatherClad, starring Dame Helennet the LeatherClad, the Right Reverend Honorable Sir Lord Killerfish of the Keenfans, and guest starring Sir Robin, as well as Jim of the Shastrix administration team. Because of your grace and Crazy World used without permission.
The world at my command, but now all that I want is just to be your man. It's a crazy world, in a twisted turn of reality. It's you and me, and I need you here to keep some sanity. We are but pawns in a faded game of cat and mouse. Maybe a couple of guinea pigs thrown out here and there. This crazy world is all messed up in my head. I got you, I don't care.